Well, I was just thinking, since we're all drinking, maybe we should do a little chaim to get this going.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
L'chaim, guys.
Clink.
Clink. Who's going to get wasted first?
I mean, I barely ever drink, so I think 2 sips in, I'll be okay.
Hold on, I'll get my other tall boy out just so I have it on hand. Who knows how long this is gonna go?
Yeah. Yeah. What are you drinking, Josh? What is that?
I'm drinking wine. Red wine.
What is that little weird cup that you always have something weird?
No, this is I got some wine from my girlfriend.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, well, you should take some back with you. And so she gave me a little wine container.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
it's like
funny.
meant for taking wine with you.
Huh. I didn't know there were special containers for that.
I think it's for alcoholics.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Are you one of those, or?
I'm trying it out.
Yeah, you're just trying out alcoholism?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
We'll
You
see.
know.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Keep an open mind.
Mm-hmm. It's good wine, actually. I got her some good stuff.
Welcome back to Adulthood Friends. This is the discussion-based podcast where 2 former childhood acquaintances, now friends, discuss the things that Dan, adverb.
Precisely.
Ooh,
Precisely.
It's our adverb of the week. And
We're going to discuss the things that precisely matter.
precisely. And
Precise.
and our guest today, who you just heard, who supplied us with our adverb, is our old childhood friend, Daniel Bottner.
Daniel Bottner. Welcome.
Thank you.
And today we're going to be talking about growth and self-awareness.
How does growth affect self-awareness and vice versa? Different phases of growth in life. When did you kind of first become self-aware? What are the things that trigger self-awareness? Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
And we're back. Dan, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having me. I want to start off by saying, wishing you or telling you a huge congratulations to the both of you for having the courage to start this. And I wish you all the success, whatever it is that you're aiming or not aiming for. I'm really happy for you guys. Really happy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. That means a lot. That's awesome.
Yeah, especially coming from you. It means a lot.
Yeah, I'm like the first one to tell you guys that, right?
Yeah.
Like on the podcast. Yeah.
On the podcast.
Sure. Yeah.
In those exact words.
In those
yes.
words.
Yeah.
I mean, your voice.
And I'm like your 5th guest, you know, like that's how much respect you guys have for me.
You're our 4th.
I think
See what I just did right there?
That was laying on the guilt.
Yeah.
We should point out, this is actually the first guest we've had on and not talking about a really heavy topic.
We don't know yet, though, to be honest. It could get super heavy.
That we're not planning to have a heavy topic with. So in a way, you are our first like lighthearted episode guest. So there's a first for you.
Yeah. We want to have a lot of fun with somebody.
Yeah.
Daniel Bottner seems like a lot of fun.
Exactly.
Oh, good.
Until he started laying on the guilt like that. And then we were like,
yeah, now it's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
If you guys want, maybe another time you can have me on and we can talk about dentistry and then I'll make it fun for you.
Well, dentistry sounds like a really heavy topic.
No, I can make it fun. I've got good stories.
Do you want to talk about dentistry now?
If it comes up, I want to hear about some dentistry.
Yeah, I want to hear dentistry.
Yeah, if it comes organically, for sure.
Because for those that don't know, you are a dentist.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty weird if you came on and just had dentist stories for us and you're not a dentist. You're just like, yeah, I just hang out outside of a dental building and just like peer through the windows.
Yeah, something's wrong with you.
Strange things happen. Yeah. Well, you're like from a dental dynasty, right? Like
for sure.
Yeah.
Because you're a whole family. It's a whole family of dentists.
Family of dentists. Yeah. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Actually, I know a lot of people, for some reason, I think dentists, like especially families, tend to go into that. It tends to be like a family thing.
Yeah, like every year we go to, not every year, but pre-COVID, my family was pretty consistent with going to this like Jewish, it's so embarrassing to say it, this Jewish dental fraternity, which is actually like international, and they'd have their meetings like in sunny places in the States, like Arizona and Florida. So it's like Jewish people gathering over the Christmas holidays and talking dentistry.
Ah,
And like you see the same families there all the time. And like the Bottners are just like one of many dental
so
dynasties, you know, like it's,
Dental dynasties. I like that.
yeah. We're just like a drop in the bucket there. Like,
That's so
oh,
funny.
another family, no big deal. Who cares? Like,
Oh, but it was like a fraternity or like a conference that like you're part of?
so it started off as a fraternity, like back in the 20s or
Oh,
something like that. But they actually just recently changed it to let's stop calling this a fraternity and just call
that's
it
so
like an organization.
that's so interesting. Yeah, that's also a good point because fraternity usually is just men too.
Yeah, like a
So
bit outdated.
a little bit.
You know, it's interesting. I just to think about it because, like you, Daniel, of all the people, I think from our element, we're going to get into this. You were in our elementary school class. Of all the people in our class, I feel like, at least for me, we've kept in touch since then. Basically, right? Like I've kept in touch with others from the class, but I feel like it's been a lot more consistent with us. Would you say that?
Yeah, I'd say I've been, and same goes with me to you. I think we've been the most consistent. Proximity has helped us the most. We pretty much went to the same schools,
Yeah.
for like 20 years.
Is that the same with you guys? Have you guys kept in touch to the same degree?
No.
Not really, no. I think I run into you every like 5 to 6 years or something. Like,
Yeah, we're kind of like every election year we'll run into each other. So,
yeah, yeah.
So let's start at the beginning here, right?
Yeah.
Talk about growth, self-awareness. You know, if we're going to talk about growth, we have to start at the beginning, right?
Hmm.
So we all went to the same preschool
Yep.
and the same elementary school and the same high school and the same undergrad university.
Yep.
So, you know, everything basically, short of working the same job that I worked at.
Yeah.
Our first job. But yeah, basically, you know, we've again known each other all of our lives.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
I carpooled with Dan too at one point.
You did too?
In
I did
elementary
too.
school. Yeah. Did you?
We
But we
yeah,
didn't.
we also carpooled.
I don't think it overlapped though.
Oh.
Maybe they ditched you for.
Yeah. It was very fluid, you know, like I think just depending on the parents' schedules, you know.
Oh yeah.
The carpool whores. That sounds really bad when I
That
say
sounded
it.
terrible.
It
Who
sounded
did
way
you just
worse.
call a carpool?
Carpool. That sounded way worse when I said it out loud than it did in my.
But with carpool slides. Okay. Is that a
Carpool
little
slides,
better?
way better. Yeah, well, I used to feel special. Now I know you carpooled with them. I don't know.
Yeah, Levine's, like.
Yeah, we did. I think at one point it
Harrods's we
was
used to
yeah.
do. Actually, I have a funny story about speaking of carpools. So at the odd wedding these days, if Leslie Parrots is there, I always see her, and I always see her at the bar for some reason, like the wedding, you know, bar, open bar.
This is a mother of one of our classmates,
Yeah.
Elena, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And she always goes, Daniel, do you remember carpool and how we used to do the
Aw.
magic school bus? She used to like pretend that we were in
So
the magic
cute.
school bus and that she would like push a button and then we'd like
God.
make it to school or something. And like,
So cute.
yeah, every wedding I see her, we always laugh about it.
That's so funny. I love
Yeah,
Leslie.
like things
She's a-
last, you know?
yeah.
Like,
That's so funny.
yeah.
So I guess a question we'd like to start with here is, since we were all in elementary school together, I don't know if we've talked about this, even though we've been in touch all this time. It's always interesting to think about, like, how did we perceive each other when we were kids? So I was curious, you know, we know each other now as adults, but like, how did you, and I've been told in the past, it's, you know, rude to start with a guest. So maybe we'll start,
Yeah.
but how did we perceive each other? How did you perceive us? How did we perceive you? So, Aya, why don't you go first?
I'm good to go first. So there are actually some like very clear things that I remember. One was like you were always the tall one, like always just super tall from preschool, I think. Like I remember I saw like one of our like it was called Noah's Ark, one of the preschools that we went to. And you were like so little, but still the tallest one there. And I'm like, okay, so he was just always a tall one. That's a pretty superficial one. There's one other thing that I don't know why it's stuck in my brain, but do you remember Mad Minutes? those like math,
Oh,
those speedy math things. You
Yes.
killed at those.
I was good at those.
You were so good. And I remember that so clearly, because you would be like done, and like to me it seemed like an impossible amount of time. And I was like, how is he done already? Always. So like, I don't know if math is still your thing, but like,
No, it's not. And I wasn't even good at math. That was like one of the only things that I could like beat the smart people at. You know, like you
Yeah.
and like Simone and like
Yeah.
Amanda, that was the only thing that I had over you. Like,
Well, I remember maybe well, I mean, I don't know that I'd call us the smart people. I think that was a very like a smart group in general, but like I was probably the worst at the mad minutes, so it became like my mom took some of them home for me. Like I was like, I can't do these. I would like panic as soon as they showed up.
they're so anxiety inducing, those things.
So anxiety inducing, and you just blew through them. And I was like, how is he doing it? And I told my mom, and she's like, okay, we'll practice. So she was doing mad minutes with me at home until I could get to like a normal amount. Like I wasn't beating anyone, but I was at least like finishing. But I just remember you did them so quickly, and I was like, what's he doing? I thought sports were his thing. You can't be good at everything. You got to pick something,
yeah.
man. You can't.
No, and I wasn't. That was like a needle in
so-
a haystack kind of thing.
That was cool.
And
Yeah.
it's funny because my report cards were never like that great, you know, and like it's like, no, mom and dad, I promise you I can do these mad minutes, you know, like.
Well, now you just tell them to listen to this and be like, look, even my classmates remember how good I was at the mad minutes. Yeah, that's one of the things that stuck out. Basketball, general sports, good sense of humor, mad minutes. That was my impression. And you were just like a nice guy. Like nobody has like I don't have any bad memories of you or anything like that. I don't know.
That's awesome. Sick.
I have one memory that's like the three of us as well. I don't know if like you guys will even remember, but this is just kind of a random story. But like once we were working on this project for some class, and we were going to Dan's house, and I remember it was one of the first times I was like allowed to go by myself somewhere, because we all kind of lived nearby. So I rollerbladed to his house, and I was told like, as soon as you get there, you need to call home so that they know you got there safe. And I was like, okay, I will. This happened a few times. Like we got together to like work on the project. Every time we started talking, we all started hanging out, and I totally forgot until like we got like, there were a few calls like, Aya, your family is worried about you. I don't know if either of you remember. I don't remember what project it was, but I was just like, oh wow, my friends are really fun. Like, because we never hung out, right? Like the guys and girls were kind of fairly separate at that age. But I remember that project with the two of you at Dan's house, and it was just like super fun.
I have a vague recollection of that. I don't know what we were working on though. I remember being at your house with Aya though.
I don't remember either. Yeah. So that's another one.
Wow, I have zero recollection of that. And I like to think that I remember a lot from elementary school.
I mean, I probably mainly remember because I remember each time being like, oh, how did I lose track of time? And it was like, oh, I'm just having fun with my friends. And I don't think I had ever hung out with either of you like on your own or like kind of separate. So it was already like kind of different. It was out of the ordinary for me. And then there was the added thing that it was like the first time I was kind of allowed out on my own, just rollerblading to his house. And yeah, so that's probably why I remember it. But
how old were we at that, do you think, at that time?
Must have been closer to grade 7 or 8 if I was allowed out alone.
Okay.
Yeah, and capable of rollerblading. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I still can't rollerblade, so.
Those are my memories for the most part. I'm sure I'll remember some more stuff soon, but
okay. Well, I guess
right.
I'll go next. Yeah, there's some similar thoughts there. I mean, you were super cool. I'm gonna say that. Like, you know, if we were to say some of the coolest people in the class, like you and Mike Lander, right? I looked up to you, and not just like, not just figuratively,
Just
but literally looked
literally.
up to you because you were so tall. And I don't know if there's like a subconscious thing that if someone's taller in the class, then you just think that they're cooler too. Like, I don't know, like you were just, oh, Daniel, he's so cool and tall. Those things always went together. But
It's
you were
a cool
also
vibe. He's got a
very
vibe.
cool. Yeah, you have a good vibe. You still have that vibe.
He still
You have
has
a very
it.
cool
Yeah, it's
vibe.
still there.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's never gone away. And you were incredible at sports. Basketball was like your thing. Again, went with the tall thing. I have this weird memory though. I think I might have brought this up on the podcast before, or maybe just talking to you, Aya. I remember this one time that I thought I tried playing a prank on you, and I didn't like. I was not. Do you remember this?
Yeah, you said this on episode 3, maybe
Yeah,
episode
you
3.
remember this, I think, but like I don't know if
Oh,
Daniel.
you're
You,
asking Dan. I don't know who you're looking at.
yeah,
Sorry, we're on Zoom here.
Was
yeah,
it pulling the chair?
yes. It was in grade
Oh.
Yeah, yeah,
5.
yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. So basically,
Yeah, I heard.
I was not a prankster, but I thought I want to be like cool like them. I'm going to, I want to get a laugh. I want to be seen as like one of you guys. So I ended up, yeah, I pulled that the classic prank, right? I pulled the chair before you sat down, hoping that you'd miss the chair, and you did. And then you hit your head against the back of the chair and you cried. It's like suddenly I made Daniel Bottner cry. And that was like the opposite of what I wanted to do
Yeah.
at the time. And then our teacher took me out of the room and told me because of that, I wasn't going to have any friends.
Well,
She was right.
I guess she was wrong. Yeah.
No, but it was devastating on many levels. Weirdly enough, that happened out of a desire to like be closer to you. Because yeah, I remember going to your house for, sorry, not your house. We went to like Michael Ander's house for sleepovers. We did all kinds of things together. Maybe we'll get into it. We did, was it in elementary school that we did Gus Macker?
Yeah.
We did Gus Macker.
Yeah, that was elementary school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So,
you know why I know that? Because in high school, I became friends with like people on the basketball team. And there's no way that I would have wanted to play in like, with crappy teammates, like I would have my own friends to play with. So yeah, definitely grade 8. Yeah. And what's so funny, Josh, you're going to tell the Gus Macker story. I love how whoever we hang out with who like doesn't know us, you have to tell them the Gus Macker story.
Yep.
Like, that's your number one like pride and joy of our memories together.
Yeah, Aya's never heard this.
That's great. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, it's gonna be
It's fun. I mean, it's not. Well, I won't oversell it, but basically, no. We started. Do you know what Gus Macker is, Aya?
I know that it has something to do with basketball and like little teams.
Yeah, it was like a street
Downtown is closed for it.
Yeah, it was a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. You got it.
Okay.
Yeah, 3-on-3 street ball tournament, but you have 3-on-3, but you pick a 4-person team, right, and sub someone in and out. So I don't know. Did I just get like selected by you guys? I don't know what happened, but basically it was you, Daniel, me, Will, and Ben.
Yeah.
Right. That was what it was.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And it was like, I feel like Michael and Pierce just like didn't want to play or like.
Must have been because I was.
Yeah,
there.
it was like you were the only ones who wanted to do it. I was just like, let's do it. Like, who cares?
Yeah, and it was a real highlight for me because I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be playing with Daniel Bottner. I don't know. I'm pretty sure Will and Ben were better than me too, but you were the basketball god. So we did this tournament and we were all expecting to kind of just lose really quickly because like you're good, but we're not that.
Yeah, like we were expecting like a participation,
exactly.
ribbon.
Just to like, I actually remember waiting to like get registered in line and everything there too. Yeah, it was grade 8, right? I remember also like playing, it got like really down and dirty. Like people were violent. It was like raining. We're on cement. We're like falling, getting scraped up. And I remember.
Yeah, it was a war out there.
Yeah, this is awesome. And like parents came to see us. I think my mom was there to see. And
yeah, we had like a big crowd too.
Yeah.
Lots of people were like just kind of hanging around there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember when you lose, like you could like, even if you're like losing, then you compete in what's known as the toilet bowl, which is basically just like the winners of the losers. So we're like, okay, maybe we can get to the toilet bowl and try to win the toilet bowl. And for a little bit we weren't. I remember we got to a point where basically if we lost one more game, we're going to the toilet bowl, right? But we came up with this great strategy. I have very complex strategy.
I feel like it was my dad who came up with it.
Was it your dad's strategy?
Yeah, he's just like, you have no choice here. Like,
yeah, beautiful, complex strategy here, where basically, if any of us gets the ball, we give it to Daniel and he scores.
And you have to get out of the way.
And you get out of the way and he scores. Very complex. And you know what? This strategy worked amazingly.
That's awesome.
Because we won that game. And then I remember it was like, okay, this was a fluke. It's not going to happen again. But, it was cool that we won this game. And then we just kept winning game after game in a row using this strategy. We were like, what is going on? we all started to feel like we were awesome. Obviously because we were really good at passing the ball to Daniel.
Hey, that's something.
I
It's
scored
just-
twice.
yeah.
I remember. At least maybe it was just within one game, but I scored twice. One of them was on ourselves.
Oh yeah, because
can
you had to
remember
clear the ball and you didn't know
yeah,
the rules.
I didn't clear the
Yeah.
ball, and I didn't realize.
Oh,
it's
because
half
it's
court.
just on one net.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
a
that
half
makes
court.
way more sense. I was like, how did you go to the wrong side?
But
Yeah,
Daniel-
it can be
it's just the one
confusing.
net.
Yeah, until
And
you get the
even-
hang of it.
I still remember you being really gracious, Daniel, going, "It's okay,
Aw.
it's okay," you know.
Yeah,
you scored.
yeah.
That was cool. I just remember like one of the final. It was the second to final game we played or something, and Ben Farhi. So we brought him up on the podcast before. I used to joke that like Ben's dad owned half the city and Pierce's dad owned the other half.
It's a bit of a touchy subject in London, but that's okay. Yeah.
Okay, so nowadays I think from what I've heard, I'm not there anymore, but Ben's dad owns all of the city. He won.
He owns all the shitty parts of downtown. No, I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. Don't
Oh my
even.
god. Okay, so there's some drama there, or there's some politics there, we'll say.
It was a funny joke though. Yeah.
Like-
Yeah, Ben's dad is like a very powerful figure in the community and was at the time too. And also he's a real character. Like he could really dominate a space.
He looks like a caricature, to be honest.
Yeah,
He
like
looks
when he's there, you know he's
Yeah.
there, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So basically on the court, his dad was there. And I remember actually there was this one game, if you recall, Daniel, this one of the matches where we were winning and they were giving our points. The ref was giving our points to the other team.
yeah.
And we were so aware of that. It was so obvious. And they were like, the other team clearly knew that too. And they were like, well, we don't know that. No.
Yeah.
And the ref didn't know. So Ben's dad went off at the ref. I remember him just like screaming on the court, just going like, what kind of game is this? And he's really Israeli. So he had that as like Israeli shouting thing going on. Some of the parents were like, it's just a game, you know, like
Yeah.
fun. And Ben's dad was like, this is not just a game. This is war. So I just remember that. But anyway, it came down to, because they gave our points to the other team, we were tied for some reason at the end. So what do you call it? Sudden death or something like that?
Yeah, it was like a sudden death. That's
Yeah.
right.
We would have been so pissed if we had lost, knowing that. But we actually, thanks to you again, we won that game. I remember it was like down to the wire. We felt so. Anyway, we basically, I don't know if we won or lost our last game, but we ended up getting third place in the tournament.
Third.
Wow, that's impressive.
And I still have that Gus Macker plaque
The
in my
plaque,
room
yeah.
back in Canada.
Oh,
Yeah,
you didn't take it
and
with
that's,
you?
I don't know. It's nice to actually come home and see some stuff.
Yeah, it belongs in London. Yeah.
London's where it happened. But you know, as proud as I am of just being a part of that, like it was all you, Daniel. And it was really cool it's thanks to you that I had that experience and that I have that plaque in my room. So yeah, there's some pretty cool memories from elementary school with you.
Yeah,
That's cool. Awesome.
that is cool. I didn't know you guys won anything, or like I must have heard about it at the time.
Yeah, we won some hardware, you know, and it wasn't some
Yeah.
crappy toilet bowl. This was third place.
No, this was
in the
third
winners
place
bracket,
in the tournament.
you know.
Yeah.
We lost to a team from Detroit.
Oh, you remember that?
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
That's quite something. So
Yeah.
it wasn't just from London, like they come from all over.
From the London Gus Macker was like a high level of play because you get like people from
Oh.
Detroit who could like really play. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
You would think that Detroit would win the toilet bowl because it's Detroit.
You.
That's just a Detroit joke.
Yeah, I mean, plausible.
I don't know why I'm crapping on Detroit. I have family in Detroit.
Oh, it's okay. You can shit on Detroit.
That's so interesting, guys, that you have like that opinion of me because there's no, I guess when you're living in it, you can never, people don't tell you this about yourself, you know, so you
Yeah.
don't know if people like think highly of you, but
How did you think of yourself when you were?
not even thinking of anything, like just too busy kind of trying to grow up and like please, you know, like your parents kind of, at least that's how I felt, you know.
So you were it's interesting because not everybody probably thought that way, but for you, it was trying to please your parents.
Yeah, I think especially at that age, like if we're talking elementary school, because like I kind of had it ingrained, you know, like you do well in school and like do well in sports and, you know, like, yeah, you know, be a good friend, all that stuff. But like I was kind of very achievement oriented, I think, looking back on it.
And they had some pretty high hopes or demands. Not demands.
Yeah, I would say so. But like looking back on it, very good. I think it's good to kind of have structure like that, you know.
Well, look at you now.
But I looked at people like Aya and like the smart people in the class. Not you, Josh.
No,
No,
no, I wasn't at all.
And I
Gosh,
thought to myself, like, that's what like my parents want me to be, you know,
Oh,
like this
no.
girl knows what she's doing, you know, like she knows the Hebrew,
I mean,
she knows the math, you know, like
the Hebrew was like, the Hebrew doesn't seem fair. Like, my parents spoke Hebrew at home.
Because her mom was our Hebrew
Whoa,
teacher.
whoa,
Was her
whoa,
mom.
whoa! It's not because her mom was the Hebrew teacher. I was the Hebrew before that. Chill, Josh.
It didn't hurt, Aya.
The fact that my parents spoke Hebrew at home made a huge difference. I mean, and
Yeah.
languages are kind of something I like. But thank you. I love hearing that you thought I was one of the smart kids. Like that's always kind of cool to hear. Sorry, Josh.
yeah, I remember like in some classes, like when they would say like, who knows the answer to this? And it was like you, Simone, and like some other girl who would always have their hand up. And like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Oh,
oh, that's
Simone.
not me,
Simone
you
was
know, like,
so smart.
yeah, really smart. Like, so
Super
that to
smart.
me, like, that's kind of how I viewed Io. It's just like, this girl's like, you'll never get to that brain power
No,
there. So, you
that's
know,
sweet. I'll never get to your height. So
socially you were a girl, and like, you know, I don't associate with girls until like
yeah.
pretty much grade 11
Yeah.
or grade 12 of my life. So it's so funny that you mentioned that like we hung out together and actually had a good time, you know, like the barriers that we put up at school were taken down, you know, for a group project where it's just us and we can be ourselves. So it makes total sense to me. I think you kind of get the same thing like if you've done any traveling, you know, like it's so easy to get to know someone because your barriers are down. So
Yeah.
I think, you know, when you ask me what I think about, you know, elementary school, it's just like so many barriers were up that I couldn't really think of you or think of myself too much, you know.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
That's such a good point. The barriers were down because yeah, there was no other situation where that happened so easily outside of class. Like, you know, we all had our own group in school, and then yeah,
yeah,
when we all hung out together, that was fun. But yeah, when you're a kid, you're not really. It's just
it's different. Yeah, no,
yeah,
it's
it's
different
different.
for
Yeah.
sure.
So you saw Aya as the smart person. Is that generally just you were like she was just one of the smart girls?
Yeah, and like, you know, then later on and towards like, you know, grade 7 and grade 8 when we start to like mature, I could see like, you know, some of the bullying aspects that you guys have previously touched on, you
Mm.
know, like she was, but I can tell like she was mature, you were maturing, you know, and just finding that part. And you really, and girls mature first, right? So like
Right.
Supposedly.
supposedly, yeah. But by the end of like grade 7 and 8, we're just getting tired of each other too. It's
Yeah, we all hated each other by the end.
same 11 people the whole time, you know.
No, it's funny. By the end of grade 8, I was actually for the first time, like I remember in the latter part of especially grade 8, I was like, I think I'm starting to finally feel like I fit in.
Oh.
Oh, cool.
Like fit
Cool.
in the sense that I felt like everyone was maturing a little bit. Some of the bullying stuff was a little less, and there was a little,
Mm.
you know, it was more. I felt like I was contributing more, and I wasn't just the, you know. So it's interesting. At the end of it, I was actually thinking, oh, this is pretty good. Maybe we should do like another year. Everybody else was done.
Well, you know what? I mean, the first day of high school, when you see like 2,500 people that you're going to school with and you know no one, you're like, can I go back to elementary school now?
Yeah, it's true.
Didn't we all seek each other out just a little bit? I remember looking and being like, oh my God, Daniel Bottner at high school. There's 14. We went from a class of 70. Sorry, no, we went from a school of 70
Yeah.
kids to a school of 1,400 in a
Yeah.
public high school. Of course, the first thing I did was, oh, where's Daniel Bottner? You know,
Yeah.
like where's the people I know?
Comfort. Can I just like talk to someone I know and not have to introduce myself? Like,
Yeah.
And Pierce and I would hang out because of that too. You know, it was comforting.
yeah.
Did you guys hang out in high school?
No,
I don't think we
No?
really
not
hung
really.
out.
No, no.
We would see each other and say hi. I think I don't.
Oh yeah, I have no problem like talking to you. You know, like it was.
Yeah, we weren't really in the same friend group. I was in a few different groups, but you particularly, I think, were in a different sort of friend group.
For sure.
Who was your friend group in high school?
I kind of took almost the Michael Lander approach in that I kind of just decided to like kind of avoid my past. Like I don't need whatever friends that I came from. Like, and I'm just gonna like I'm a good basketball player, and I'm gonna be friends with the people who play basketball,
Oh,
like who are
right.
good at
Hmm.
sports, you
You
know.
found the
And
sporty people.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
I think I
like
remember who you were friends with
yeah.
then. Yeah. Okay.
And like in my grade 9-ish mind, I was kind of like, you know, you don't talk to girls, you don't talk to girls at summer camp, you know, but sports is like going to help you. You're going to prove yourself at school and be like a good sports player and be known for it. And that's going to help you like mature as like a cool kid, you know, like I always strive to be like those popular kids. And by the end of grade 12, you're like, oh, I don't want to be those people at all. But in grade 9, like for sure. And so since we're kind of transitioning into high school,
Oh, before that though, can I just say something that I just
Yeah.
remembered? One of the things I remembered about you as a kid was that you had this amazing Jufro
Oh yeah,
of
the
hair, like
hair.
this crazy, huge, like which made
So
you even
curly.
it made you even taller, by the way. It was that big.
yeah, true, yeah.
It was this dominant, like, yeah, this I'm saying Jufro. I don't know what to call. Is that what you
It was
call it? It was
just, I let the hair go. Yeah, it was a Jufro.
You had a
yeah.
comb stuck in it most of the time.
And
Yeah.
by the way, in some places, you know, like I've seen like, you know, certain TV shows or whatever, like someone's got a Jufro, it's kind of something you make fun of. But in a Jewish school, a Jufro is cool. So
For our listeners, can I just clarify? It wasn't a frizzy Jufro.
it wasn't
was
a
like
frizzy
a
Jufro. It was a cool one.
tousled curl, like thick hair, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like
Yeah.
poofy.
Wasn't tight
It's not
curls.
like
It was like
yeah. It's not like a
Yeah.
what's his name, like Seth Rogen-y,
No.
like hair type thing. No offense, Seth Rogen.
But even if it was, I feel like it would have been cool in a Jewish school.
Yeah. Hopefully.
I don't know. This was the school where going to like, I remember I was made fun of for not going to shul, for not going to synagogue.
You were made fun of for that?
Yeah, they were like, oh,
You're
Josh
so
isn't going to
lucky.
synagogue.
Yeah.
Because it was cool to go to synagogue in our school. I don't know if you guys remember, there was this kind of
I don't remember that, but that makes
atmosphere.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool to go to Jewish camp. It was cool to go to do Jewish holiday stuff. I think.
Oh, that reminds me of another thing. Dan, you always knew the prayers like really well. I remember you were one of the more like you know how we
My family went like quite
Yeah.
often. Yeah.
So I remember you were like often the one who, like, you know how sometimes we had someone leading, or all the time we had someone leading. I don't know.
Yeah, but like carrying the tune, you know.
Carrying the tune, but
Yeah.
you were often carrying it, whether you were the leader or not. Yeah.
Your dad is the president of this synagogue, right?
Yeah, he was for a very long time. Yeah, like off and on, sort of. Oh yeah, I was gonna say. So Josh, like, I spoke briefly about what I felt about Aya, but like, it's so funny that you have like that opinion of me being like nice and like and cool, I guess, because with you, I found you so like annoying, you know, like
I know.
and I felt like I bullied you, and I don't understand why you don't remember me as like a tormentor to you.
So you kind of, when you did to a degree, but
yeah,
like
for sure. Like, and I didn't like lots of parts of you, you know. It's and we'll get into the parts where I really warm up to you, at least in my head.
Yeah. Well, I will say that just looking back, I guess the reason I don't see you that way, and you did join in on stuff for sure.
Yeah.
But you weren't usually and maybe I'm not recalling this correctly, you weren't the instigator of this stuff usually. You just kind of, you'd laugh. You definitely would laugh and go along with it. But I don't remember you usually instigating it as much. But I could be, maybe I'm just remembering wrong because I'm so close to you. I feel closer to you now. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe your brain's like, I can't accept that part of our past.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like maybe 15% of the time I was the instigator, but it was drowned out by the other, 85%.
Yeah, I mean, at the top, I mean, the worst I remember having to deal with usually would be like, Michael and Will. Yeah. But like, there's only 6 guys in the class. And I did say that like, basically Pierce was the only one who didn't join in usually. He didn't like he's more of a bystander there. But like, I guess there was some of that from you, but I guess, yeah, that's not the perception I have of you, maybe more because of how long our relationship has gone on, and the majority of it, we've been pretty good friends.
Yeah. That's just the part I find surprising, is that like I'm looked highly upon for elementary school when I feel like I don't deserve it.
Your honesty.
But also because again, similar to Michael, like I looked up to you, right?
Yeah. So that part also kind of clouds that, I guess.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I don't know. I'm sorry I was so annoying.
You know what? It's we didn't know how to handle it either, and groupthink is a very strong thing. So, if a group thinks that someone's annoying, it's hard to outgrow that, even if it's not true.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I noticed you being someone that I can really relate with in like grade 9 after your mom passed, and we started to get closer. And I don't know why we got closer at that time. Maybe it was, I don't know. It was like kind of in school and kind of outside of school. Like I know we said we'd talk about this, and I can bring it up now. We went to We went to a Maccabi Tel Aviv basketball game
Right.
in Toronto versus the Toronto Raptors.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
It was like a few months after your mom had passed.
So grade 10. It would be grade 10.
Would it have been grade 10? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Grade
Oh,
10.
because that's when your mom passed. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I was slowly becoming more closer to you because I was like, well,
Yeah.
like I know this guy, you know, and like he would be.
Can I say something about that, by the way?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that Maccabi Tel Aviv is this Israeli basketball team, right?
Yeah.
Which is separate from the NBA. So I didn't know a lot about this stuff, and your family basically invited me along, and I'm sure you understand the details of that a little bit more. But basically, it did feel like, yeah, we want to help out Josh a little bit because he's dealing with some stuff. You guys were in fact, your family in general, I just want to say, was extremely. I mean, you guys not only were active in the community, but you guys were you felt like at the like the village, not elders, but like the village, like in charge sometimes, right, of the village. And like you guys were keeping things going and keeping things running. And you guys, I think, helped spearhead, or at least were a big part of bringing my family food, cooked meals every single day for a year after my mom passed.
Wow.
So I think it's possible your family was involved too. And if I forget, I
don't know.
apologize.
No, I don't know.
It was like a schedule, and somebody different brought us food every single.
That's so nice.
There was like a schedule going on for a year, to the point where when we stopped getting that food, I was like, "Where's the food?" It started to slow down to just like every week, you know, about the end, and then it was gone. And I'm like, Dad, we got to start cooking food. So, but like you guys were, you know, so caring, you know, your family was so caring. And yeah, it was very sweet of you guys to invite me to this game. And I remember it's one of the coolest experiences, because I remember going there, and apparently it was just sort of like, it's like a fun little event game, right? The Toronto Raptors are going to play Maccabi Tel Aviv.
Yeah, it's interesting,
right?
because it's a preseason game, so it's before the regular seasons for each team, and it means nothing.
So it's just for fun.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, because you know we're Jews and we have a connection to Israel and all that stuff. I'm thinking, oh God, I hope Maccabi Tel Aviv wins. Like, that's so cool. And everybody was laughing at me like, oh Josh, like this is not. They're doing this for fun, but like they're not gonna beat an NBA team.
Yeah, I remember we were like sitting next to each other in the car, and you're like entertaining that thought, and I was like, get that out of your head. Like, it is not going to happen.
Yeah, everybody was telling me to get it out of my head. And I'm watching this game with you guys, and I'm like, it seems pretty close. And you're like, yeah, they're just playing with them. It's not really, you know, don't worry. And it's like getting closer to the end. I'm like, this is a really close game. Like, you sure they're not going to win? And I remember there was that moment where you're like, I don't know what's going on right now. and then by 1 point, Maccabi Tel Aviv won by 1 point.
Oh wow!
Yeah, by a game winner buzzer beater. Like,
yeah,
it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, funny enough, that guy who ended up, and the reason why I was saying like the Raptors are a much better team, like blah blah blah, is that the guy who hit the game winner ended up like being there were two players on Maccabi that ended up making the NBA. So that goes to show you the skill level difference. But anyways, that guy ended up playing for the Raptors for.
So he was basically like for us during Gus Macker. He was the guy.
Yeah.
In the ball, and he scored.
That's funny.
Yeah, his name was Anthony Parker. Yeah.
Oh, that was such another cool experience, thanks to you and your family. Was the rabbi there too? I remember I feel like the rabbi was along for the ride there too, and he also came, and he was also telling me how they're definitely not going to win.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I feel like, am I crazy?
He wasn't in our car. I remember there's another kid who like was kind of in the Jewish community in London for a bit, who was like freaking out because he didn't get a shirt. He was like a couple of years younger than us.
Oh.
But yeah. So no, I mean, going back to self-development or whatever the conversation of whatever topic this conversation is about.
Growth and self-awareness.
I remember talking to you, and like you had become so mature at this point because, you know, life had really hit you hard.
So self-awareness started to kick in.
Oh yeah, like big time.
For me.
And like it was like hitting me like, whoa, this guy's like, okay, obviously he's changed, but like I think he's like changing like really good here. He's like sounding super intelligent, like much more intelligent than I am here. I guess you can kind of sense it sometimes. And I remember actually at the end being like, Josh, like, you're gonna come out of this, like, telling you something like, things will get good for you, you know? Like, and I don't know how, no one can predict that future for anybody, but I guess it sounded right at that time to say that.
No, you were such a good friend, and I really appreciated it.
That's like where I think I turned a corner for Elise, or like you turned a corner for me, like in terms of the way that I thought of you. You know, like, oh, I can have like, and that's a 2-hour ride home, you know, like we were talking, talking the whole time. And I was like, oh, that's, you know, I'm happy that the person who I used to bully is like, you know, that we're like warming up and like really connecting here, you know.
It meant a lot to me too, given how much I still looked up to you at the time. And there was, I think, at least on my end, I remember there, I talked about this a bunch, but like that was a big dawning of self-awareness for me, and of growth. I guess they go hand in hand.
It's amazing that you say that's what you felt, but like I'm looking at it from the outside being like, yo, that was the moment. Like, yes,
Yeah.
I can confirm.
I do have a question for you though. Like what was it? I've asked a couple others about this. It's just purely out of curiosity. What was it like on your end hearing about like my mom's passing and all that stuff going on? Like when you'd heard about that, what did you at the time think?
I guess I was kind of numb to it. Like, oh, wow. Like, yeah, there's nothing to, like, you worry about the future for sure. Like, oh my gosh, those 3 boys, like, you know, they also look like deer in the headlights. And yeah, I guess like one day at a time and this and that. And I do remember my parents being like, you know, you gotta engage here. You gotta engage, you know. And
Shout out to your parents, by the way. Very, your parents are awesome.
yeah,
They're lovely people. Yeah.
For sure. You know, you appreciate them more and more the more you talk about them, for sure.
Yeah, it's just a curiosity on my end there. It was interesting because I didn't used to see it from that perspective, you know.
Yeah, I remember it more from my parents being like, you got to be there, you know. Whereas, but for me, it was just like, holy crap, that was a surprise. Like, I don't even know what to do here. Like, yeah, but I will say that it's been like amazing watching your growth from that. That's like been quite amazing to watch from the outside, I will say.
Did you guys, did you and Aya like interact much during high school, more or less?
I don't think at all. Yeah.
I would see Aya in the hallways and just say hi, and that was it. Yeah, like no conversations at all.
Yeah, I think maybe we got like a head tilt.
Yeah, like, oh, hey, I know you.
Like, hey, yeah.
Am I crazy? Like, are your families? I felt like your families were pretty close.
I think well, I know that our dads both go to like synagogue fairly often, or my dad used to, like, so maybe I don't know. And my parents said, like, I don't know, like last week they're like, oh, I saw the Bottners and something. So like, and my dad goes to your dad for dental work now too. So
oh yeah, I've seen him like in the
oh, and I danced.
I've seen him in the office.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, true. You danced with my sister at Victoria Carter's. Yeah. So like, yeah, Josh, like a few interactions, but not like not like Shabbat dinner or family friends. Or
no, nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys are welcome to come anytime though, but
no, I mean, you guys, yeah, I don't know what it was. I think my parents were always friends kind of with the Israeli crowd.
Israelis, right? Yeah.
It was kind of Israelis, and there was like
my family's very close with the Bells. Like our dads are
right. You guys were always together. I remember that.
Very close.
Yeah.
Bells mean like Amanda Bell, who was on recently.
Yeah, not just like ding dong bells, like. Sorry, please edit that out.
No, we're leaving that in because it was so
like,
ridiculous.
We're not the ding, but I was clarifying not.
In
case anybody thought we're talking about real bells.
They're real people, okay?
Not the jingly kind.
Not the jingly kind. Are we halfway through? We're halfway through life now. Can I pop open my other beer?
Yeah. Pop it open. Awesome. Let's get. Like, by the way, let's do a little cheers. A little l'chaim again. Probably.
We already did one.
You don't do more. So.
Oh, do we do another one? Okay.
Yeah, why not? We're talking about life here after all.
Right,
you know.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
And pouring a cold. Is it still cold?
Yeah, it's cold. Yeah.
Nice.
Cowbell. Cowbell Brewing Company. I don't think I've had that.
I'm not an alcoholic.
You're doing a Stella Artois.
Sure. I mean, it's just what I have. Yeah. I don't have any affiliations to any particular beer.
L'chaim.
Nobody can
L'chaim.
see this, but l'chaim.
Clink.
I
Yeah.
clinked the microphone. It didn't sound as good as I thought it would.
I just spilled stuff.
Zoom cheers. Welcome to 2020 and 2021.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah. Speaking of l'chaim, so for anyone who doesn't know, there's a little chai in there, which means life. And in Hebrew, there's also like, sometimes they do the thing where they add the numeric value of letters together.
The letters equal numbers. Like A is 1, B is 2.
Exactly. So chai for life is the number 18, and it's episode 18.
Yeah.
So if anybody is interested in that, there you go. Little tidbit.
It's a special episode is what we're saying, Daniel. We kept you for episode 18 for Chai.
Yes.
So it's more special than you realize.
We're still making up for not having you as the first guest.
Yeah, well, no, I'll confess now that I was holding out to see if you guys would have like any big special ads, you know, so that I could claim royalties off of that.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
Maybe episode 180, and God willing, we'll.
Inshallah. No.
Inshallah.
Wrong religion.
You know what is good though, Daniel? Since we have had some of our other, classmates on before you, now whenever you tell stories and we tell stories about them, we don't have to like introduce them every time. We just kind of reference them.
Those barriers are gone.
Yeah, knowing you, we were going to have some stories. So, although then we talked about Gus Macker the first thing, and we talked about Will and Ben, and we haven't had them on. So that didn't quite work out the way I wanted.
It's okay.
Sorry.
At
some point, maybe.
They'll come for episode 36 and all the multiples of 18.
Exactly. So we talked about high school then a little bit, and then we also went to undergrad together, technically. But again, we say together, but we didn't share any classes, did we?
No, unless we were in like the same like intro to psychology class, which had like 10,000 people.
It's possible.
What did you take, Dan? What did you take?
What did you do?
I don't even know.
I took, I ended up doing an honors specialization in physiology, but when you start off in sciences, in the medical sciences, you're just taking a bunch of basic sciences for the first 2 years. So like my one course that in first year that was not science was psychology. And that kind of gave me the flexibility to take future psychology courses in like second and third year.
We must have been in that. Was it Mike? Was that the name of the professor?
Like Psych with Mike was like, Mike. But I was never actually in his classes.
Oh, okay, because that's the one that I think I had that one. So then we maybe didn't share.
Right. Yeah, no, we didn't. I'm sure we were in the same kind of curriculum, but yeah.
Yeah. I always try to explain to people what an honors specialization is, and like, because I took an honors spec in neuroscience, right? But I haven't talked to a lot of other people who are doing honors specializations.
I did an honors specialization.
You did?
Yeah,
what?
I mean, I ended up doing it, but.
Oh.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about this, I guess. Oh,
yeah.
Maybe it is. I don't know. There's something. I always try to explain this to people. I'm like, what is an honors specialization?
It's just like you did a bunch of. It's just like
it's
there's
like
a major
more,
and there's an honors specialization.
It's like more than a major.
Yeah.
So like you could have done I just wish it was called I majored in this. Like, ooh, honors specialization. Like you sound like an idiot when you say that.
Or you sound like the opposite, depending on.
Or you sound like an asshole.
That's not the opposite. It is kind of douchebaggy. It's true when every time.
You got an honors specialization.
I always tell, I did an honors specialization in developmental cognitive neuroscience.
Oh my God, yeah.
So it's worse than saying physiology. So.
And I'm never gonna talk to you again. Like.
This is the episode where Dan and Josh stop being friends.
Yeah.
So when did you realize you were going to go into dentistry? Did you just know that since you were a kid because your family were all like your older brother's a dentist, your sister's a dentist, your dad?
Yeah, it's all random when you look back on it, or when I look back on it, because at that time, I made it into university, and this is where my parents are like, okay, this is like where it really matters, like high school is just to get in, but now like whichever school you apply to, they're going to look at your university marks. So now you've got to like pedal to the metal. So,
Right, because if you're gonna, so you knew you might go to dental school after that, in which case you needed to get good grades in undergrad.
yeah. Because that's what they're going to look at is like first, from first year university and on. So I was just like in full on, treating this as like a full-time job sort of thing.
Right.
Good for you.
So lots of pressure there.
Is that why you I felt like you were kind of really into your studies at that point, and
Yeah.
to see
Like
less
I
of
was
you
not
because of
a
that.
good, hanging out with my other friends very much. It was like
Man, good for you.
going at it, like how people kind of like you meet some people now in life who are like really like consumed by their work. Like that was me in my, but I was like, I was primed to do that by my parents, like that was totally by design, and it worked out for sure because like I can live that fun life now.
Yeah, and you are
I
a dentist now.
think I do. Yeah. Yeah.
Just to point out, like you're probably the most gainfully employed of
Of the three of us,
the three of us.
100%. Why did you
Yeah.
why did you hesitate there?
I
For
was gonna
sure
say
he is.
no. I
What
was
are
gonna
you
say.
saying?
Well, I was gonna say of us all, and I was thinking I don't mean the entire. I don't know about the whole elementary school.
Oh, right.
I meant,
Yeah.
but
No,
of the
I
three
wouldn't
of us,
say
like,
of us
yeah, at least.
all. I don't actually know.
You're up
'cause
there
I
for
don't know.
sure. But I do remember, like, I came
Yeah.
back just not that long ago, like a year or two ago, and you gave me a free cleaning and checkup.
What?
Yeah, he did.
I
Oh, am I
didn't-
allowed to say this? Is this
Yeah, of
going?
course.
Can this?
Yeah.
Can I tell
I'm
people
not
this?
allowed to bring it up, but once you bring it up, it's like, oh, okay, you bring it up, let's talk about that.
I want a free clean. No, I'm just kidding. I just went to the dentist like last week. I paid like $200.
I'm totally of my own volition. Gave you a review afterwards, which is definitely, it's not money, but
No, it is money actually, because a patient just came in today, and she was a new patient coming in from Toronto. And I said, so how did you hear of us? Like, how did you decide to come here? She's like, I looked up online, and it's like, yeah, anything else? She's like, yeah, I looked up reviews.
saw Josh Littman's review.
And people
And-
saw really good things about you. I was like, oh, good, I rigged those. I didn't say the quiet part loud, but
It's not that much of a rigging. I mean, you were great. In fact,
it's
I
rigging
wished,
it if you write it in yourself. So like if I were
Yeah.
to go in right now and just write, and which you actually can do, which is why the whole system is like screwed up.
But you could only write one and it would show your name, no? Like
No, it like you can go there and you won't know which ones it's Josh's.
Oh, weird. Okay.
for those listening, you are a fantastic dentist, and actually the most fun I've had in the dentist chair in
Oh,
my
yeah?
life.
Yeah, we had a good time, eh?
Maybe I should switch dentists. I don't know where I'm going to mine like a fool.
I had to just get over the fact I was like, this is my friend is in my mouth. But
Yeah.
Oh, Josh.
it sounds worse when I say that.
You
but
get over it quickly,
How
you
did
know,
you
like
think that was gonna come out? Yeah.
No, I kind of knew what I was saying there. No, it was no, I liked you in my mouth. It was great. I gotta stop. I'm gonna stop. I'm done.
guys, I'm telling you, a full episode on dentistry. It'll fly like amazing.
Hey, it's not too late. We've barely talked about growth and self-awareness. So
This is all part of growth. That's the great thing about calling it growth, is that all of this is growth.
Oh.
Eh?
All growth.
Yeah, but the real questions that are coming up right now, I guess,
Hmm.
like we talked about, you know about me. I don't know if we've talked as much on your end about this, Aya. So I'd like to know for both of you, when did this self-aware, because you guys are both incredibly self-aware people. When do you feel this really hit you, or did it hit you all at once, or were there phases of this hitting you? Like, do you feel like you're still not fully self-aware, which is kind of hard to gauge, I guess, because you have to be self-aware to be able to gauge it.
Yeah, I think it's like different phases of self-awareness as opposed to like, oh, on this day I became enlightened, you
Yeah.
know, like the Buddha, like. Yeah.
It's not like in Terminator, in Terminator 2, where the robots became self-aware. The day they became self-aware.
I haven't seen that.
I've actually never
No?
seen the Terminator, which is
Oh,
like,
Wow.
oh my God.
Yeah, I haven't seen
Okay.
any of them. I'm
That
so sorry,
went.
Josh.
That's usually a reference that doesn't go over people's heads. That was very.
Right.
No, yeah, you're
Well-
right. That's like wrong. I should watch the.
Me too. Yeah. It's our bad for that one.
It's like making a Titanic reference and someone going, "What are you?"
I haven't seen it, but I know the references. I haven't seen Titanic either, but I would agree with Dan in terms of it being like a gradual thing. I always feel like, yeah, I mean, I've kind of pointed out certain moments where I realized where I came off as not as, like sometimes I thought that I was being funny or that this was fun. And it was like, no, you're being a jerk. Like nobody enjoys this. So, I mean, there were a lot of moments like that, I think, that kind of got me to try to be a nicer person. Even at the beginning of this episode when I was making some jokes about Josh and then you pointed out, hey, as soon as we got a guest on, you turned back into bully mode. And I was like, oh, do I? So, I mean, I'm still learning. I don't know. I don't think I've really reached any kind of special self-awareness level yet. I'm hoping to get there one day.
No, that's the most self-aware thing you can say.
Oh, well, okay.
There you go. No,
I don't know.
and you knew that too.
That was some 4D chess self-awareness right there.
Oh, I just remembered another thing too, now that you've just said that.
We love chess.
Chess.
I used to play
Yeah.
chess.
Yeah,
We
I
had
used
a
to play
chess
chess with you too.
phase.
You were great. You were fantastic at chess.
I played a lot online. Yeah, I was addicted
Oh.
in the early like internet days. I was addicted to StarCraft and Yahoo Chess and Yahoo
Oh.
Pool.
We used to
That's so
play some of that stuff. We played chess. We played StarCraft, I think,
I remember
right?
you guys had like those old chess. It was like the little wooden pieces, and every lunch, you know how like we would all go through phases, and you guys went through a phase every lunch.
Mhm.
I know for sure the two of you. I think some of the other guys as well probably
Yeah.
will, and you would just play chess.
We all
And,
played
like,
chess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We get like
That's
mad
what
at
I
each other for taking too long,
yeah.
And I remember the girls were playing A-hole or President. And I
That's what
used
we
to
were playing.
remember
Yeah.
Aya and like all of them singing, "I'm first neutral. I won't talk to anyone. I'm
Oh
first
my God.
neutral. I won't talk at all." Like it's like songs stick
Oh,
in your
I
head,
totally remember making up that song. I
Oh,
always,
you made it up? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Okay, I shouldn't take credit, but anyone who, okay, so this is just a sidebar, but I play cards with my mom and my grandma every Friday night now. So I go there for
Cute.
dinner. They're the people I see. And I'm constantly singing things like like my mom will say something and I'll turn it into a song. Eventually they'll just be like, "Oh my God, stop." But I find it entertaining.
Yeah, no self-awareness on your behalf, but plenty of fun.
No
for-
self-awareness, but hilarious for, I mean, sometimes someone will like point it out. They'll be like, "That's really annoying." I'm like, "Oh, was I doing something?" Like I forgot that I was. But yeah, making up songs about whatever was going on, and they just like get really, they were like dumb little tunes about nothing, just to kind of annoy people.
You
But
still kind of do that, right?
I still, have I done that to you? I
You just
think
make
I,
tune-
oh
I
I,
think you just like singing the podcast music randomly.
oh yeah, I 100% do it. I don't know if you've been privy to too much of that, but I for sure do it. Yeah. So that's what I just took credit for that class.
Who got that tune?
So this is my good friend Tam Duan.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He's done he's a great musician. We've done so much stuff. His music has been in my movies. But he was just super sweet.
You just told him like, "Yo, come up with a tune," and he just like.
Well, I didn't tell him. I was like, it wasn't like do this, but no, I asked him, and
Was a little, yeah.
no, I asked
Yeah.
him, and he was so gracious. He's so talented. He can come up with things pretty quickly, and yeah, he did that for us just out of the goodness of his heart.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's real. I like it. It's really, I find it catchy.
It's really catchy. It's really an earworm, and you don't realize it at first, and then you're just trying to fall asleep, and you're grinding your teeth. Or maybe I'm just me grinding my teeth to this song.
Yeah.
I don't grind my teeth, but I had it in my head, and I was like, "What is that? Oh my God, I have my own. Like I have our own podcast."
Next thing you know, you're
head,
playing
like,
cards with your mom and your grandma, and you're
full of
just
myself and
riffing off, your podcast tune.
Exactly. Yeah. To be fair, my dad does it too. The singing random things that
It's inherited.
people say.
Yeah.
Like my mom got really frustrated because she's like, "What?" Yeah, it's inherited. There's some gene that I've got that's like you automatically sing whatever people are saying. Like I'm not a good sing. Neither of us are good singers. It's just like my poor mom goes around trying to have conversations with people, and my dad turns it into a song, and then I was there turning it into a song, and she's like, "I get enough of this from your like, what are you doing?"
I think it's good anxiety relief. It's probably it's a good thing.
It's fun. It's annoying if someone's trying to have a conversation with you and you're just singing back what they're saying.
They just need to learn to live with it.
That's one of your positives to me, not a negative.
The singing. Okay.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, I felt like I had to justify because I immediately took credit for that the made up. Well, I mean the tune isn't made up, but the "I'm first neutral. I won't talk to anyone." I totally took credit for that, so I should probably back it up with some proof.
I remember that now that you say that, like you doing that. But
Yeah, I didn't remember that actually. It sounds like you have a pretty good
Yeah.
memory for our elementary school because Pierce didn't remember much. I feel like Pierce didn't have a huge like detailed memory, and I mean Mike, we kind of focused on something else.
Amanda had more memories, yeah.
Amanda had some really specific ones, but yeah, but that's a good one.
Yeah, no, I've got specific ones for sure. Very specific. Like I'll remember, yeah.
Any other goodies?
Any other goodies?
Yeah.
It'll come
Yeah.
up in conversation, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask
that's
you
fair
more later
enough.
because I'd like to remember, like I've said before, I remember, I feel like I remember stuff from elementary school. And then when I have to think of specific things, I can't think of hardly anything.
Yeah.
There's like a small list, and one of those is me pulling that chair out and making you cry. Also, us playing that game with a basketball that should not have been played with a basketball, where we'd have to we throw it up.
Bump?
Oh, we played Bump too. But I'm talking about the game.
Oh, I remember actually playing Bump with you guys.
Bump
yeah,
was
that
fun. We used
Soccer
to
baseball was pretty intense.
soccer
Oh,
baseball.
soccer
Yeah.
baseball was great, which is actually just called kickball,
it?
isn't it? Isn't that what
don't know.
kickball is? I found out what. Yeah, someone referenced kickball, and I was like, "What's that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's what we called soccer baseball for years, for some reason."
Yeah.
I prefer soccer baseball.
I'm pretty sure it's kickball.
We play that in the park, right? Across the street.
Yeah, but the coolest place
we
was,
also-
we played it in the schoolyard, and like you could hit home runs if you like
Yeah.
kicked it over the fence, you know.
How many balls ended up on the roof of our
Oh
school?
my
Like
God.
all of them, right? Or over that fence?
How much asbestos did we breathe in from going to that school? That's the real question.
Yeah. For those that don't know, we went to a private
Yeah.
Jewish school, which sounds like it would be some like super wealthy, beautiful place. But again, we had a small.
And it very well might have been at one point in this period of the world.
It was a small community, so like everyone was kind of contributing to make this thing work. So really, it was a tiny little school. I always tell people the gym was really just a classroom with a big pole in the middle that we said held the school up, and then there was a kitchen that was also part of the gym.
Yeah.
And then
The gym.
we'd play dodgeball in that gym, and it was stupid because you'd hit the pole and the ball would come back at you. So it was not a good place to play dodgeball.
And our playground was.
It was a parking lot.
It was a parking lot. Like it looked like a parking lot.
Now it's an
And
actual
now it is
parking lot. They
literally a
turned it
parking
into a
lot.
parking lot.
Now it's actually, and I mean, what did they have to do? Nothing except draw on some lines.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have to do anything. It was already a parking lot.
What a
Yeah.
timeline for that like plot of land. Like first you're going to be a parking lot,
Yeah.
and then for 50 years you're going to be a playground,
Yeah.
and then you're going to go back to the parking lot.
Also, it was a Jewish school, and now it's like a Catholic
College, yeah.
college.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's part of King's. I remember we always had King's like down the street, and there's that Jesus statue,
Yeah,
and it's like
pretty Jesus-y.
I don't know if you
I love
ever
that
know it's
thing.
like that.
Yeah,
It's pretty
very.
Jesus-y. You love it? I
Yeah,
was
it's
always
just like so ironic, that we go to school like right across from Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting now when I've come back to drive by that building just to get a little nostalgia kick, and looking through the window to see a giant cross in our little Jewish school, because it's now gone back to the college. The Jewish school is now a new building by the JCC, right?
It's like a little addition.
Yeah, going back and seeing that now, it's like, oh, that's different.
Yeah.
We went on a tangent back to our early days.
We went on multiple
But
tangents.
you can talk, Aya, about your growth through like university, because that's kind of what
I mean,
time
university
period
was.
we're in now.
Yeah, that's true. So it's actually funny that like what you're saying about what you did in university, like you said I was smart in elementary school. I think I used up all my energy in elementary school and a bit of high school. I actually, like in quotations, kind of stopped caring right when I should have started caring. Like it was late grade 11, early grade 12. I was like, I don't care anymore. I'm just going to do whatever I do. That's when things count. That's when things start to count. And I just like, whatever. I went into university. I was like, I'm not picking a thing. I'm just going to take courses and see what I learn. I was kind of, what's the word? I resented a little bit that I had to go to Western because I didn't want to. And my parents were like,
Oh, I didn't want to either. Oh my
none of us
gosh.
did.
Yeah.
I mean, or maybe maybe I'm projecting, but yeah, my mom was like, or my parents were like, you're going to Western. Understandably, they didn't want to, money is hard, but yeah. So like, I don't know. I just didn't want to. My friends were gone. I had kind of like this bad attitude about socializing. I felt already on the outside of school because like I wasn't on campus with people, and I didn't have like a set plan of any kind. I was just kind of wandering around and like taking random courses. I eventually got an honor specialization.
Honor specialization, yeah.
An honor specialization. But I ended up switching what it was because I was like, oh, I actually didn't take the right courses I needed. Like I wasn't planning properly, and I'm so different now. And I was different in elementary school and a little bit in high school, but I kind of lost it for a bit. So I really admire that that was when you did like the pedal to the metal, working hard. That's what I should have done. But
You seem to have chosen the right times
you
to.
chose the right time. Yeah. So, I mean, that's much smarter than what I did, which was like, I was already burnt out in,
Oh.
I think, the end of high school. I was tired.
I didn't choose it really. It was more just like, this is
Yeah.
this is the moment we've been waiting for. Like,
I mean, you're always,
I didn't know that.
you always choose though. You always choose. It's not like my parents were like, yeah, stop caring. Of course not.
You know, you have really good parents, Daniel, is that like you have a genuine desire to like, I don't want to say please them, but like to make them happy in a sense that like they're not the type of parents you want to rebel against. They're good, smart people, a good family.
Yeah, it like goes back to like a certain type of psychology of like, I think you can speak more to this of like, you know, rewarding good behavior, you know? So like if I did well, you know, it's like, here's what we get to do.
Positive reinforcement.
When my dad would take me to a Raptor game, you know, it's like, you want a nice, you know, he'd like remind you, you know, you want nice things in life, you like, you know, like this is what we can do when we, you know, and I'm so proud of you for doing well in school and this and that, you know. So it was very much like a feedback loop that, you know, you're trying to win the approval as well, sort of.
Oh, nice.
So, you know, it can be, and I think at times it was taken in a different direction, or like in a direction that I wouldn't have done it myself in, or, you know, I kind of resent sometimes parts of it, but as a whole, yeah, Josh, you're totally right. Like I have total self-awareness to be able to say that where I am in life now and the way that I got there was through their guidance.
So where did that self-awareness come from though? Like did you always have that?
Ever since, you know what made me had it was dental school, because you become very close with a lot of people in dental school because you're forced into, it's kind of like, imagine like going to military school.
You're all going through hell together.
Yeah. Actually, like I listened to a lot of podcasts and one guy kind of described dental school as like his own Vietnam in life, you know, which is not a great comparison because Vietnam was a lot worse and a lot more traumatizing in every single way. But like, you know, that's the part where if you're going to become self-aware, you know, especially after it's all done, that's going to be a time.
So if we want to gain self-awareness, you recommend going to dental school
or the military, or Vietnam or something. Yeah.
But basically what you're saying is going through really challenging experiences with other people can
and from like different walks of life, you know, like I have close friends, you know, I have a friend who was born in India, you know, and that's a totally different, and his mindset now is still very much dictated by like how he grew up. Whereas I have other friends who are like 5th generation Canadians who were not pushed at all by their parents, you know. And his mindset was totally, you know, so you see all different kinds of walks of life and you go through the same thing together. So that's when you can really, that's when I started to really reflect on like where I'm coming from, you know.
Do you feel like it's really helps like that really just communicating and dealing with other people and that empathy almost towards other people, understanding their experience helps you trigger your own awareness?
100%. That's exactly.
Like when you see what they're going through and you go, oh my God, that's like me.
Yeah.
Oh, and then you start to see yourself in other people and vice versa.
Yeah. And then like a big financial part comes into it, you know, like a lot of my friends took out, you know, the $250,000 loan that Scotiabank offers. You know, I still remember how much money it is and which bank offered it to my friends, you know, whereas I didn't take out any of that money because my parents were paying for it. And this was like their dream and of their own lives to be able to pay for their kids'
that's nice of them.
education. So like, you know, that makes you quite self-aware of like, okay, here's where I've come from and where I am in life.
Right. It gives you a sense of your place.
Here's where my close friends are, you know, in life. But I had different pressures than they did too. So, you know, I had something to live up to, whereas a lot of my friends were from households that were happy that their kids were like doing well, but it wasn't like necessarily as big of a deal to them. Whereas my other friend from India, like that was, his parents were so happy about that. So all different kinds of walks of life,
right,
that you can compare and contrast yourself to.
Gotcha. So I have a question. So I'd like to think of like when we're growing up, there's kind of different phases, like growth phases in life, and certain, I don't know, phases or periods. Like, how you describe it. Like, I feel like we had that kind of elementary school phase. You keep breaking these down even more, I'm sure, right? But we're breaking them down kind of like elementary school, which for us went to grade 8.
I break it up in terms of schools. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of school. Like every 4 years I was changing school,
Right.
or 5 years. So yeah.
So here, I guess we would say like elementary school, which goes to like grade 8, then high school.
I mean, Josh, you're the one with the honor specialization in developmental cognitive neuroscience, right? I almost got it right.
Almost. I'm also a filmmaker now, so.
Okay, well, but I'm just saying, like, so you should know the phases of life, right?
Well, there is different developmental phases in that sense, but I'm talking about.
I just wanted to show that I knew the name of your.
Yeah, I'm not getting too sciencey with this.
Get sciencey.
But just sort of like breaking it down. High school, then there was like undergrad, and then for you there was dental school. Each of those was basically a different like growth phase for you, right?
For sure.
As you were growing up, did you feel like your place? How do I word this exactly? Like for me, I can say in elementary school, my social standing was not great, within the class, right? That's kind of, but as I grew and went into these different phases, I found myself socially in like a different, like not literal class, but like a different class, right? Like in high school, I still wasn't that popular or anything like that, but better than elementary school. And things also shifted. I've talked about before after my mom passed, maybe because of the self-awareness that came on, maybe because people felt bad for me. I don't know, maybe a mixture of all of that. But weirdly enough, in my undergrad, I was like king of the world. Like in my social group, also me and my friend Roman, like we were up there, you know what I mean? Like we were, suddenly I had like a pretty high social standing. In fact, to this day, I'm known as someone who's got like tons of friends and I'm like really good socially and all that. And I prioritize that stuff. But then weirdly enough, when I went to my grad school, USC, it started to feel a little like kind of cliquey again and almost like kind of went back a little bit it started to remind me of the time in my earlier days in school, how I was, I wouldn't say I wasn't getting bullied in like grad school, but there was more of that type of stuff going on in the way people were with each other, and it kind of regressed, it felt. But I personally had brought a new sort of awareness where even though this was kind of the atmosphere of that school, I was beyond that now. I now had grown personally, and I was a little better at like dealing with that. And I already knew how to I wanted to make, there's a word I'm looking for. It's not my word, perfectionism. I wanted to basically cultivate my own situation. I wanted to be the master of my own situation now.
Design.
Sure.
Now it's bothering me that I don't have the right word.
All those words.
Precisely.
I'm creating my own. I'm not letting. Okay, put it this way. I'm not letting my social situation or this phase I'm in life. I'm not letting that determine.
You're the agent.
I'm not letting it determine it for me. I am now the agent, and that only came through growth and having experienced those other kind of phases. So I'm basically, I want to ask, like, similarly for you, as you kind of grew and went through these different phases, did you find that you kind of maybe had a different place in any of these situations? And if so, how did you deal with that or tackle that challenge?
Is this question for me?
Yeah, for you. Yeah, but I'd love to hear your answer.
What was the question? No.
Yeah.
Too busy thinking of words.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. Like the way that you view yourself, like in groups, changes over time as well. Yeah, I always wanted to be someone who's like respected amongst 95% of the people, because that's probably as high as you're going to get. So that's kind of.
Do you feel like that happened in every single?
No, for sure not. No.
Where do you feel like it shifted for you? Because again, from early on, you were highly respected in elementary school.
Yeah, so maybe in elementary school and high school, I guess. I would say I was pretty successful at that. But university, I didn't really know anybody. That's kind of where I go in my hermit mode. The people that I know well, and like I study with them, and I'm like around the same people, So for the most part, yeah, I'm pretty good with them, but I'm not in like a social system, there. Dental school, that's where it gets like a little bit more cliquey, like, yeah, respected by most people, but that's around the same time that you're in grad school and you're kind of like, yeah, I kind of know like what I want here, and I don't need to feel like these social hierarchies really.
Oh, so you felt that too?
Yeah. That's like around the age, like,
You felt that thing happening, but you're like, I don't need to fall into this
Yeah.
trap. I know better.
it's like your mid-20s where it's just like, all right, none of this, like, these people are cooler than the other people. And like, you just
Yeah.
find the people who you get along with and who are like the whole concept of like-mindedness is kind of what I think I started to look for.
You knew what you wanted and what you liked by this point a little bit.
Yeah,
You knew yourself.
and I'm still friends with those people. So like that kind of mindset, I think, paid off.
Do you feel like that kind of, you gain this sort of sense of, instead of things just happening to you, you start to realize you have a choice a little bit.
For sure.
Like
yeah.
you can be the master of your domain.
Yeah, and it's all about how you view it and where your mind is going too.
Yeah. So you're more active than passive in a sense.
Yeah.
What do you think, Aya?
Yeah, actually, I kind of relate to aspects of that. Like, so I mean, yeah, undergrad, it's also hard because like everyone's in different classes and stuff. Grad school, kind of the cliquiness started again. And the thing with grad school is like, as you're entering, it's like there are the kind of like the older kids. So it's almost like there is grade 9, like there's, oh, they're in year 4, they're like
Right.
basically already graduating. So there are kind of these groups. And I remember I found there was this one girl, and like I was like, I already kind of know the whole deal with this. Like I went to Western, and a lot of the people were international students. And there's this one girl, I mean, she wasn't super international. Like her English was already great. She lived in London for a bit already with her husband and kids. And I just remember like helping her with something. I was like, oh, here, I know how to go through the student center. I'll help you do this. And then we were friends, and it was just me and her. I wasn't friends with her. I was like, I just need the one friend. I'm good. And she joked then, because like I think it was maybe in like 3rd year, because like I had my boyfriend at the time. I was just like, I hung out with him, I hung out with his friends, and I had my one friend in grad school. And then maybe like year 3, when we were like the older kids, I just started volunteering for everything. I found like some people that now I'm like, they're some of my best friends, like in the program, that were like just these amazing people. And I was like, how did I not realize, like, my friend Adriana, I don't know if I've mentioned her yet, but I'm almost like her fan. Like when we hang out together, everybody else is like a little uncomfortable. They're like, can you guys just relax? Like I'll be like, oh, you look so beautiful. And she'll be like, no, you look beautiful. And I'll be like, you're so smart. And like she'll just say something, and we'll just be like fangirling over each other. Like not
you just connect on such a level. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually it was funny because other people told us like, you guys would be friends. First, for some reason, Adriana's like obsessed with Jewish people. She thinks, I don't know, she hadn't met any or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
wait till she meets someone with a Jufro, then she's gonna be like.
I mean, I had a Jufro as a young girl, well, very, very young, but yeah. So like I made these friends, and then so the friend that I had made, like at first, she goes, yeah, that was that year that you suddenly like became popular again. So I had like kept a really low profile. I was like, I don't need to talk to anybody. I go to class. I'm just here to like do my degree. I love the teaching part. I'm here for that, and that's it. I don't care about the social stuff. I'm not getting involved with any of that stuff. So suddenly being like, oh man, these people are awesome. And everybody there speaks like multiple languages. Like for example, Adriana speaks at least 3 like completely fluent, like native level language, but then like also another 2 or 3.
And that's your thing. You're all about the language. Like that's something you connect on. You
I
love
do.
the language stuff.
I think it's really cool because like some people think I'm good at languages, and I'm like, you don't even know, like these people are amazing.
It's like a pleasure to hear them speak it.
Yeah, it's so cool because like it's interesting. It's kind of like what you were saying about your friend from India that you had dental school with. There were a lot of people that it was like, oh, you worked so hard to get here. And I almost take it for granted in some ways. Like, yeah, it's grad school. I'm just gonna keep going in school because I like school. I didn't like sit and like think, what do I really want to do with my life? I was like, I should probably, I love school, just go back. But yeah, there were people who had worked really hard, who were like, some of them had like families, and they were working there were so many different situations. And
their mindsets are like way different than you could even imagine.
Yeah. And they were just like so happy to be there and like to be able to learn there. And like some of the situations that they came from, I mean, the one friend that I made initially, and I'm still friends with her. She's Venezuelan. So sometimes I'd ask her like, how are things at home? And I mean, stuff has been going crazy since we started grad school till now, really. Like, I mean, I hear about the things that happened to her, and I mean, she's still dealing with all the other, just like the regular stuff. Grad school isn't easy, and she also has kids. And I was just like, oh my God. I was like, the stuff that I was like, I can barely take care of myself. How are you taking care of your entire family? Plus like her own parents who moved from Minnesota. Anyways, it was just like, it was a bit of a wake up call in terms of like, you take things a little bit for granted, maybe. So maybe there was some self-awareness there, but also what I was getting to with the friend groups is that I had forgotten how meaningful it is to have a group of friends, like, and to have friends that you really, so I mean, I had the one friend, but like she was often busy. And then once I had this group again, there was this feeling of belonging. There was like just the fun that happens when you're just with a group of people that you like. And I hadn't had that in so long, I think since high school, probably. And just to see them every day almost. And it was just, I think that was when I started actually like appreciating people again. Because before that I was like, I don't need anyone. But no, I kind of do.
Do you feel like life's kind of like this? You get introduced to this buffet of things and you're just passively kind of trying all these different things. And then it's like, now you're coming back and you have to choose, you can only choose a few, like you have to choose some of these things that you tried along the way. And you have an idea of what you like, what you don't like, and what you, maybe when you were trying that, passively trying those things in the buffet, you didn't have a choice, like what you were trying, right? And now you're like, well, I liked that one thing a while ago and I really missed that thing. And now but to be able to get that sort of awareness, you have to have that experience first. You have to have gone through all those kind of experiences. And then you can it kind of gives you a picture of the whole map. It's like, I'll use a StarCraft reference for you, Daniel. It's like, when you're playing this game, but you don't really get a sense of what you should do strategically until you have seen the whole map and you've seen where everybody, the layout of the map and where things are. Then you're like, okay, now I can build a strategy. Now you have an awareness.
Now I can go back to the buffet and get the fried chicken that I was.
Yeah. Now you know that's, something that makes sense for your life.
I like the life as a buffet.
Yeah, it's very true. That's an amazing, yeah. So like we're probably at the age now where we kind of know like what to look for.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And we can even go with the small plate because we're like, I know what I want. I don't need that huge plate to put a little bit of everything. I know.
Yeah.
I know what I need.
For me, a big part of it was time going by, like knowing that we're going to die and all that stuff. And like realizing the short amount of time that we have really, really triggered it for me. Is it the same for you at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Like COVID really brought my own there's like a time limit to this stuff, like kind of thing to the forefront for me. So yeah, for sure.
We were talking about this once before. I think you were saying that COVID really opened your eyes.
Oh yeah, man, absolutely.
How did it do that?
I was off of work for 2 months. So like for the first month, like when we were really like afraid of what was going on, I had like lots of times like where I'd have multiple days just in my own apartment with me alone and my own thoughts and some dental videos, and you're just reevaluating things. Like anybody's mind is going to go there when you're given that much time alone, I think.
So it's interesting. It's kind of like the opposite. We were saying that sometimes that awareness comes from these people around us and
seeing other viewpoints, and other times it can be like
the opposite, right?
Yeah, now you're just with yourself, and it's time to really think about this stuff because COVID is something that comes for you in different ways. Like, we all had to kind of fear that our parents might have issues with it. And then, you got to think about that. What if that happens? Then, I don't know, like you're watching the world events kind of happen around you, like it's not just COVID, like there's Trump, like that's pretty crazy and fucked up.
Yeah.
So really, we don't have to hear about that anymore as much.
Yeah, me too.
So
but like
happy.
that was happening,
Yeah,
So
no,
like
that's
I kind of really reevaluated my existence, and we started talking about that too. I think, Josh.
Yeah.
Too, because I started to like really fear. I started to imagine like what dying looks like, and like climate change also like came into the forefront for me too, because like I've really started threats. Which every generation has faced, but I was just too caught up in like school and dentistry and like my life to think about those things. But
so you're saying you need to slow down a little bit too to be able to really and reflect.
Yeah. And probably, we're also like in Western society, we're kind of in these groups and groups of people that we talk about, but we're not like especially us millennials, we're not in like organized religion too much where we're like talking about our meaning and existence and death and stuff like that. So for me, at least, that awakening came through being alone with COVID to evaluate that.
It's like what Pierce was talking about. We had Pierce on, and he was talking about how death in his family really triggered that self-awareness for him, that sense of mortality, basically. For him, you know, it was the death did that, but like, I think a worldwide pandemic triggers that for a lot of people.
Oh yeah,
as well.
a war could do that.
War,
like lots of things. And I've been so fortunate too. Like I just had 2 grandparents pass away in the past 3 years, but I still have 2 left. So like death has not been around me. Like other than your mom and like and Pierce's dad, like it's not something that's like that I'm presented with. You know, for the first 32 years of my life, really. So
yeah, well, thank God, I should say. But
and thank God, yeah. I mean, and yeah, it's easy. It's amazing to be able to reflect and say that. But COVID was like the one thing to be like, don't think that I can't. You know, a little virus can't take that away from me. You know, especially, and we didn't know what COVID was at this time. Right?
Yeah.
We really didn't know what it was.
It was even scarier.
It was way scarier. I'm looking at the date, April 13th. Like, oh my God, that was petrifying for me.
Yeah.
And I knew that if I got it, I'd be fine. But like,
you worry about your parents and you worry about,
oh my God,
who you know, community.
Of course.
And like how you say that it like kind of changed, or it like made you kind of face that mortality. Did it change anything practically speaking? Like, I know that you're kind of in a new place. Was it part of that? Like, did you decide to do something different? Did you change the way you lived a little bit? Or
well, I also, not only was I like alone in my apartment a lot, but I took a lot of time to do to get in like very good yoga shape and and to get into like Headspace, the app, with some meditation.
Oh, cool.
So
yeah.
That's when you like get I'm still not great at it, but you know, you get a little bit more introspective about like how you're feeling, like, oh, why are you feeling anxious about death right now? Like, and what is it about, you know, so you start to like examine your thought patterns a little bit more.
I can see Aya hearing you say meditation, and she's just like, oh, okay, I'm interested now. This is
I got really into
meditation.
Yeah, I got super into it in grad school as well. Like, I mean, we had all these free programs.
So you're way more into it than I am. That's awesome.
I don't know about way more. Like there was one where it was just like you went to this session and they played like these tapes, or not tapes, like recordings for you, and then there was another one that I actually signed up for that was like you went every week. It was the same like 5 to 6 people with like a leader, and we learned all these things. And then and I kind of got really into it. I have a book that's about like getting to the levels of meditation to reach enlightenment. It's actually pretty interesting. I haven't been keeping up with it. I've been too busy with this podcast, but I am super into meditation at least cool. I was for a while. I haven't been keeping up with it lately, but there was a year where I did it like 20 minutes every morning at least.
Oh, nice. Wow.
I'm starting to feel a little left out now.
Oh, sorry, Josh. Well,
Josh, you're in California, like the hippiest like,
you don't
meditation.
Understand. I didn't realize that before I came here. I thought coming to LA, I was like, all right, this period of my life, like it's going to be parties at night. It's going to be like late night kind of urban, craziness. I don't know. I just thought LA. I don't know why I thought that. And it's like, nope, everybody here goes to bed by 9 p.m. and they get up at 5 in the morning to go walk their dog.
Although I don't
and eat kale.
Yeah.
Stuff,
I love kale. Oh my God.
And meditate and do yoga. They're all about the yoga. You're made for LA. Yeah, totally. You guys should.
I am. I know.
So Josh, we'll just switch. You can come here and I'll go over there.
Yeah, but then there's the whole movie thing, so I got to do my movie stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, by the way, speaking of movies, just a little reminder.
Oh, a little plug?
No, not a plug. No, not a plug. Daniel, you know, we had Amanda on recently, and I brought up how she acted in one of my movies. Why are you shaking your head?
I'm left out again. I was never invited. I was never invited.
You worked. Okay, I has this thing where she thinks she's never been invited, but anything she's ever been invited to, she's always said no. She just wants to be invited just so she could say no.
I love the shade.
But I would remember if I said no. I wasn't.
But you know what? That was random. That was just like Josh was like in town, and I was just like, "Hey man, want to hang out?" And he's like, "Nah, I'm shooting a movie. Want to come by?" I was like, "Okay."
So I haven't said it yet, actually.
Oh, all right. Okay, fair enough. Okay, sorry, Josh. Go say it.
So I should say it, but I will say, we were shooting in Toronto. You were in London. So so yeah, Daniel, in addition to Amanda being in this movie, the movie was called Attention Whore. It was about histrionic personality disorder. And Amanda had a small role in it. And Daniel happened to be in town, right? You just happened to be in town, was it? In
I
Toronto?
was going on a date right after that.
In
Aw.
Toronto?
And you were
Oh,
like, hey, I was just in a movie. And she was like,
no wonder you were
oh,
in such a good
Yeah,
mood.
yeah. I thought that was gonna be like my in, and
how did the date go?
that was the last date, I think.
Oh no.
Was it like the first and last or just the last?
I
Like,
think maybe, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Well,
Wasn't memorable.
yeah, clearly you don't even remember. Yeah.
at least prior to that, you were in a good mood. Well, you played a character named Brian. I remember this. And you were in like a therapy session with Amanda, which I thought was so cool. Cause I'm like, oh my God, two of the kids I grew up with
It was
now
cool, yeah.
in a movie together, and it worked out and you were hilarious. You're really funny. Yeah. You were, I don't know if I gave you, it was inferred you had some disorder, but I don't think I gave you a specific one for the movie.
No, mainly I just had lines, but
I think you were calling out Amanda's character for being a narcissist. I think that's what it was.
yeah, and I'm looking forward to that catapulting my my acting career.
Your acting career,
Yeah.
Alongside your dental career.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I can go just into acting, that would probably
Maybe
save my
dental
back
acting.
and my dental acting. Yeah.
Our mutual friend Grant Vesna, who lives in Florida now, is in dentistry, orthodontics now.
Yeah, his dad's a dentist too. Go
He's
figure.
another family dynasty. He was my cinematographer before he really went full into orthodontics and everything.
Before he decided he wanted to make some real money.
Some real money. He's a dentist cinematographer. I always say, yeah, my dentist cinematographer. So, maybe in wrapping some of this up now, we've been talking for a little bit, but I was just thinking, you were talking a little bit, Aya, about before how, what about the science of some of this? We're talking about growth and self-awareness. And I was just thinking, I'm thinking growth maybe in terms of learning, in moving forward, because for me, you can't really grow if you're not learning still. If you want to, and it never has to stop. Like, we're going to keep growing from here. We're going to keep becoming more aware and more self-aware, but only as long as we, I think, decide at this point to keep learning. I think that is a choice, right? You have to allow yourself to learn. And it reminded me of this thing I learned back when I did neuroscience-y type stuff.
Your honor specialization?
My honor specialization in developmental cognitive neuroscience. Yeah. So when you're born, you have apparently, like, in your brain, you have an overabundance of neurons being brain cells, right? And the process of learning happens when neurons basically connect. Sometimes I like to think of neurons like, like the people, like getting together and they have to make a connection. And there's like an electrical connection between them. And then you can have multiple networks of neurons coming together to build on each other, and the learning builds on that, right? But you basically, when you're born, you have all of this early on in your life, you have this overabundance of neurons just kind of floating around, basically waiting for a connection to be made and for learning to happen. But the thing is that we go through these, what's known as sensitive periods. They used to be called critical periods. They're called sensitive periods now because it's not exact. But you go through these sensitive periods whereby it's a process called pruning, where all these neurons that aren't being used, basically, that aren't connected, die.
No, they're dying.
They
oh
die
my God.
off
How
as
many
we
died?
As we get old. You don't want to know. A lot die.
I don't want to know.
It's an amazing number. We also have a ton of them, but a ton die.
And like, we can't make more, or what? Can we make more?
I don't think, not really.
That's stressful. I wish I didn't know that.
Well, I mean,
Go meditate on it for a few minutes.
Yeah,
and
can you
fine.
take out the neurons that remember that fact? 'Cause, I don't want to know.
Technically, if you just knock yourself in the head, I just killed a bunch of neurons that way too.
No.
But there are certain sensitive periods. So, like, how they say, the most classic sensitive period that you've heard about is around the age of 12, 13. By that point, you're going to want to learn. If you're going to learn a language, you love languages, Aya, right? If you want to learn a new language, the best time to do it is before basically bar mitzvah age.
Oh, we all did.
Right.
We all learned a language before then.
Yeah, we were all learning Hebrew, and we also
Yeah.
all had bar mitzvah. You had a bat mitzvah, and we had bar mitzvahs.
Mm-hmm.
But again,
Yeah.
by that age, you're going to want to learn, because after that, there's going to be that process of pruning, that neural death. And you can still learn a language after that point, after that sensitive period, but it won't be the same. It'll never be the same. You will always have an accent. People who learned languages later in life, right? They have accents. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's harder to do. And they actually, when they do a brain scan, they're actually using a totally different part of their brain.
Are you okay?
Am
Sorry,
I sure? Okay.
Are you sure that that's because I know people who have learned second languages or third language or whatever. Is it only for a second, like if you never learned another language at all? Or is it like,
Yeah, I mean, look,
some
there's
people
going
who
to
already
be...
know multiple languages, they're like, doesn't matter. They'll learn something later in life and they're fine.
So again, you can learn a new language. There's nothing wrong with learning. You can learn new languages and also learning how to learn a language.
But it doesn't go
right?
into like the same
Well,
file in your brain. It's like a separate file or a separate area of your brain. Is that
in general, I'm sure there's exceptions
okay.
and there's
No,
people
I
where...
don't know. I'm asking. Yeah.
I think that muscle also learning how to learn a language. If you operate that earlier, you can operate it a little better after too. There's probably more nuance to this, but in general, if you're learning after the sensitive period, it's actually a different part of your brain that's lighting up when you're speaking or trying to speak that language. It won't ever come as naturally to you if you didn't do it before a certain point. Knowing that, that's why a lot of parents are like, we got to get our kids to learn this language by this age.
Yeah,
and
it's smart.
there's certain, I think there's a process of putting around 3 years old or something too. You got to learn certain, you got to learn to talk by a certain age. I think if I recall this correctly, Daniel, I remember you saying that you learned to talk really late.
Like
By
yeah.
3, was it 3 years old or something
3,
like that?
yeah. It's really weird. Like I have a niece now, and she's like the only grandchild of my parents, and she's like starting to say names now, and she's like less than 1 year old, and I'm just like,
Is it your sister's kid or your brother?
no, my brother's.
brother.
Brother, sorry,
Yes,
why did I
yeah.
say sister?
Yeah. And it's just like really, it's like, whoa. They had to wait like another 2 years before they could get a word out of me, and
Yeah.
she's like saying like uncle, and it's just like, wow,
Yeah.
how dumb was I? Like,
No, I mean, people are different. Like,
yeah, for sure. No, there's and the more people I talk to, the more I hear about like, oh yeah, I didn't talk late.
So that's why it's called a sensitive period now, not a critical period anymore, because it's not exactly, but for some people by a certain age, if it doesn't happen, it'll be a problem. And other people that it's different for them a little bit. So like, my friend Roman, right? He's from Russia and Israel. When he came to Canada, he was learning English. He was 13? He was at the upper edge of like, learn this language now or he's going to have an accent. But for the most part, he doesn't have an accent, for the most part. Another friend of mine, his name is George. He's Bulgarian. He came, I think, around the same time. Actually, he might have even been here longer, but the cutoff seemed to have been earlier for him. And he's always had this accent, this strong Bulgarian accent.
Yeah, I briefly know both of them. You're right.
Yes.
About that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just a sensitive period. It's different for different people, and it's hard to explain why. But anyway, the point is you go through these processes of neural death, of neural pruning as you get older. But the thing is, the ones that don't die are basically the ones that, the connections that have been made, those last, and they start to strengthen over time. So basically, as you're getting older, you're losing open-mindedness and you're gaining wisdom in a sense, right? So does that mean that you will not be open-minded as you get older? No, and I think there's a lot of nuance to this too. Like, I think that itself is a muscle in your brain. You can, open-mindedness is something you can hold on to by that being part of what you've learned, right? It gets very complicated. The point is keep learning, right? And as long as you keep learning and keep making neural connections, that's how you'll keep growing. And, personally, I prefer to grow not in just a very narrow path. I tend to think of it like, you went to grad school, both of you, I guess, but, you just keep like focusing as you get older, right? You remember we took like science in like grade, was it just called science in grade 9?
Yes.
Yeah.
General science. But
And then it's called biology, chemistry, physics.
Biology,
Then you go to microbiology,
and then you're in molecular biology.
Exactly.
And then you're,
And then, of course, the older you get, the more you realize, the less you know.
For sure.
The more you grow, you're gaining more information, you're gaining more knowledge, but realizing that you know less than you knew. And that's a good example of self-awareness. As you grow and gain more knowledge, you become more self-aware and realize how little you know, right?
Yeah, I have to tell patients all the time, like, I don't know.
It's good to know that you don't know.
And you know what? I'll tell them, like, I bet you if you were to go to like 10 other dentists, they're lying to you if they say they do know.
Right. Yeah, it's good to know when you don't know. That's part of self-awareness, right? But anyways, the reason I'm giving all these examples is basically to illustrate how, as we get older and this neural death is happening, we know it happens. it's kind of if you don't use it, you lose it sort of thing, a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You do have to keep learning and keep, I mean, I think that goes with two of the things we talked about. One, interacting with diverse groups of people and diverse fields, and keep taking their knowledge into yourself, and also having those moments of self-reflection as well, and slowing down, basically, like we said before, like seeing the whole map, right? So yeah, that's just a little bit of the I think I think as we get older, some people say you get more conservative as you get older and less like liberal. I think that's why they say that too. Like as you
I think
get,
I've done the opposite.
well, again, this is important to note why, but some people, they do get more conservative as they get older, I think, because they get more
like narrow, like
I would say
what should
narrow-minded, but
be
like,
is like
yeah,
they've solidified what they think the
exactly.
world should be like.
Solidified's a good word, because your brain basically, it's like Play-Doh or clay when you're younger, and it starts to
Like
harden
hardens.
and cement. So basically what you're doing,
Little dried up brains.
yeah, and you want to keep it as malleable as you can for as long as you can. You want to keep that open-mindedness.
Those dried up conservative brains.
Yeah.
Well, so there's advantages and disadvantages, right? One of the advantages is that you strengthen those connections that you have. So it's very important to keep building those bonds and strengthen those neural connections we have. And I'll try to get out of the sciencey stuff now.
No, it's very interesting.
Just basically to strengthen those, what you've learned. Yeah, those bonds, but what you've learned. You want to keep learning more and more about that thing and keep growing, but not to remain too narrow as well.
Like you can build on it. So it can be like the branches of the tree as opposed
Yes.
to like just like a road or like a.
Yeah, but even so, like you also want to take a step back. And I think that's where the self-reflecting stuff comes in too. And
meditation.
Yeah, meditation, also
meditation is like ultra like step back, see how your mind works, Josh.
Yeah, so basically there's little branches at the top of the tree that keep branching off too, but you can also take a step back and make sure to look at the lower branches as well and where they go. I don't know if this makes any sense.
No, totally. And like there's different periods in your life where you're going to take different approaches to that process, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense either. But like you said, like you're in a group of friends here, and then like you're gonna learn that, and then those bonds will solidify, and then COVID comes, and now you're all by yourself, and now you're gonna have to like, solidify those neurons or whatever,
Well, basically, I'm just thinking that you have to continue this process of growing. We talked about how we've grown like kind of up to this point, but like I said, some of it was like passive early on, right?
Yeah.
Like even neurologically, our brains allowed for that. But as we get older, it really is a choice. You have to choose to keep learning, and you have to choose and basically to keep growing. And
I like that.
In doing that, you get rewarded with more self-awareness, and that self-awareness rewards you with more growth. So the two are interconnected there.
And more growth means that you can go back to that buffet and get more fried chicken.
Exactly, if that's what you so
whatever
choose.
It is.
Yeah.
If that's what you choose.
If you so choose, but it's all part of that is knowing what it is. Well, fried chicken is not necessarily considered good for you, but knowing what's good for you or what you want, what you're, because we realize in that self-awareness that we have a limited time on this planet, right? So you choose, kind of what's important in everything. So I don't know. I personally have learned, I've talked about it a lot, but yeah, friendships to me are high on that list.
Yeah.
Because they also contribute to my growth and self-awareness. So I just want to say that I've really, really valued our continuing friendship, Daniel, moving forward. I said this to Aya a million times, but I'll say it again.
Yeah, I don't want to hear it again. I'm tired of hearing this shit, Josh.
You're done. Yeah,
I'm done with these lovely things that you keep telling me every week. God, way to make me look like the asshole who never says anything.
I went on. This is like a long road. Sorry, what I was saying here.
No, that was like my conclusion from COVID too. Was like I was really having like an existential crisis of like, oh man, you're just on this floating rock and you're just like destined to die and all that stuff. But that's just where your mind goes. And if you switch the focus to, well, I'm going to use that limited time to like love my family and to make really strong bonds and to love my friends, then that is the life worth living, and that's worth it all,
Yeah.
Plato or Socrates or one of those Greek philosophers. I need to do more research into this and maybe meditate on it some more. But there's this line that comes across. It's called living the examined life.
Oh, an unexamined life is not a life worth living.
Oh, that's
Ah.
okay. Yeah. But just like, I guess they talk about like I'm not thinking
Okay.
that's kind of like a negative line, I guess, like,
Right, but there's an
it's not worth it.
examined
But
life kind
yeah,
of
like the
twist to it.
examined life, like I don't even know what that means, but like that's like my new goal is to look into that.
No, that's self-awareness right there, is having
Yeah,
that.
there you
Of
go,
course, right? But yeah, that's
But basically, if you don't do that, you don't grow. That's kind of that's kind of what I'm
yeah,
thinking. I
yeah.
mean, we could say you grow, you physically grow or whatever. Like you're gonna, but I think if you grow without doing that, then you're just gonna go down that narrow sort of growth,
Yeah.
right?
You know what I think is like also kind of a side tangent to that is that like with COVID too, when you're worrying about your parents and like your loved ones and all that stuff, like I've had a lot of time like around my parents now with COVID. And I've been talking about how my parents had like a lot of influence over where I went in life, but now I'm watching them grow and
Mm.
watching them go through things and like being able to look at it through an adult's perspective.
Yeah, you're
And
relating to them now as an adult, not just as a
I'm
kid.
relating, yeah, and like I'm worrying for them, like that's a whole other type of examined life, I guess you could say, because
Yeah.
they are your life too,
Yeah.
I think it's a huge moment of self-awareness when you can start to put yourself in your parents' place. I think that's like a
Oh
huge moment
yeah,
when you can,
huge.
I don't know if there's a specific memory, but just realizing when you finally have that realization of being your mom or dad in, raising you, for example.
I
Yeah.
remember the first time asking my mom how old she was, and she said 35.
That's when,
Yeah, like that's like one of my earliest
oh wow,
memories, and
we're not
her
even there yet.
responding to me. No, but I'm close. I'm like, whoa.
Wow.
It's like you realize, like you watch home videos and stuff like that, and you just like see your parents, and you're just like, wow, they had no idea what they were doing, like that's.
They still don't know.
And they still don't, yeah. But like, I didn't realize that until now. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's part of that. Yeah.
they were just
You know.
making it up as they went along, like I'm doing.
Yeah.
What is it? We might have brought this up before too, but you know how like they've interviewed people at the end of their lives and asked them like about what really mattered and their regrets. And oh my God, it always comes down to some of the same things. One of the things they wish they were true to themselves more. And another one is that they focus more on the things that really mattered to them and cared about, like the people around them.
Yeah.
Is a
In the
huge,
end, that's all
huge
you
thing.
have, really.
And it's the people, it's those
Like,
relationships. Yeah.
yeah.
And to me, I see often those like the neurons in the brain. To me, that's people are a lot like that. There's like a weird comparison there.
Mm.
Yeah. So for me, that's one of the reasons, to do this podcast. I get a lot of, I think this contributes to not just like in a therapeutic sense, but to my growth as a person.
Yeah, it makes you get it out there, into the open, and thinking out loud is like
Yes.
something we say a lot, but like it actually
Yeah.
my girlfriend and I are doing it now, and it's like, this is really helping.
Nice. Yeah.
Figuring out ways to like see each other during COVID. It's like, it helped me.
Well, it's long distance as well, right? Like that's extra hard.
Yeah, it's really hard. Yeah. But
Yeah.
but yeah, the whole point,
All
yeah,
right.
thinking out, this is like a whole thinking out loud podcast. And it's so nice to have it with someone that you've grown up with.
Yeah, that's so much. In some ways, to me, that's even more interesting than anything. Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah. That adds a whole
Yeah.
new element to it.
well, Aya and I, our whole thing here was kind of like we've known each other all our lives, but we weren't always friends. There's an element of that with us too, Daniel, right? Like, again, like you said, when we were in elementary school, like you thought I was super annoying and I felt bullied by you. I guess I did. I didn't remember that. But yet, even though we've known each other all our lives, we had to choose to be friends at a certain point.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I
This
think
isn't, my mom, or my dad 2 days ago being like, gotta see what Josh is doing, No.
you know what? I think that's kind of my, I don't know, everyone's got their own, but it's kind of my little thesis for this episode is when you're younger, there's a certain passive growth, but as you get older, it's more active growth. And you have to choose it. Because if you don't choose it, then you'll lose it.
Yeah. It's a good point.
Yeah.
That.
I like how proud you are. I like how proud you are. You're like, choose it or lose it. And you're like,
I was so proud. I was like,
you're so proud of it.
Copyright Josh Littman 2020.
Yeah.
Yes. The examined life, Socrates. You choose it, you lose it, or whatever the hell you just said, Josh Littman.
It's not that I'm a philosopher. It's that I have an honor specialization in development.
Yes.
Yeah.
It really is like every time we have like a guest on that's like someone we grew up with, at least particularly in the case of like you, Pierce, and Michael, because I've been friends with Amanda, but like the way that you've become an adult, I know it's kind of weird, but like it's so weird because my idea of you is still you as a kid. And it's like, oh, he's a dentist now.
Yeah, I was telling Josh that yesterday. That's
So weird. Like
I hear you
people
talk on
trust
the
you when you're-
podcast, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, I know that girl so freaking well. Like,
Yeah, it's so weird. It's like you really think you know someone, and then they'll say something, and it's like, I had no idea that was in there. I didn't know that was in your head that whole time. You know, like it's cool to really see someone as an adult.
oh yeah.
Can I tell you something, Daniel, that kind of stuck with me? I don't know if it's like weird to bring up here now or anything, but like this was like a moment for me that was, I felt like something, like there was a new phase of life, or that we'd grown a little bit more, right? Or that maybe we'd grown out of some phase as well. I just remember we were at like a dinner. I think this was around undergrad time, early undergrad. And we were sitting at a table, and I'm still a little bit in my mindset of like, Daniel Bottner, like so cool. Like I look up to Daniel Bottner, and you just asked me like a question at the table. You had been noticing that I guess I had like what appeared to be, I guess, success in relationships or with girls or something at this point. And you asked me like a question, like for some advice about something. And I was thinking like, Daniel Bottner wants my advice.
You did date some pretty hot girls, Josh. I remember you dated hot girls, and we were like, how is this happening? No, just kidding.
And everyone's like, what? No, but that's the whole thing when we're not like,
Yeah, I was thinking
growing.
that too, for sure.
Yeah.
I was like, holy smokes, like, because that was part, like, I couldn't talk to anybody unless I was shooting a basketball, like.
So in my mind, I didn't have that awareness. That actually weirdly helped trigger something in me as well. I humanized you more. Because again, these were all kind of roles. We all had a character to each other, right? This was the Daniel Bottner character. This is the Josh, annoying character.
Yeah.
We didn't yet humanize each other. I just remember that being like a moment.
Oh,
where
he
I was
has like gaps in who he is and like what he wants to be. Like, huh.
Yeah, like
oh, he's human.
Yeah.
Who knew?
We're all human. It's like we know that, but that really, I just remember it striking me as like, yeah, we're both the same age. We've all been through, our own trials and tribulations.
Yeah. It's funny because now you can talk to someone, and like if they're like giving off this persona of something or someone, like you can kind of see where they're deficient, pretty quickly if you talk to them long enough.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty easy now. Like I'll find it. Whereas back then, Josh, that was like maybe like one of your first moments of like, what? Like he's not like invincible, like.
And I think it takes longer with the people you knew and grew up with, because you have like you said, we have an idea of them in our head.
Yeah.
But to me is one of the most fascinating things to break that idea a little bit and just.
Well, we solidified it. We've been like running that same track in our heads. Those neurons have solidified in there, and now we're just like
to break our brains.
breaking it off.
That was
and then
a breaker.
Yeah. It's just really, again, to me, it's the more you get to know other people, the more you realize how similar we all are and how we have different experiences with strange things, but we're all just
build
our
empathy. This is what happens when I just interrupt the empathy. That's our
theme
word
of
of every class, every podcast, whatever this is.
Yeah, Josh and we use the term empathy a lot in our phone calls.
Oh, you do? That's nice.
Yeah, Josh is a big empathy guy.
He loves empathy.
Did you know that, Aya? Did you know I'm a big empathy guy?
You like empathy? I've never even heard you say that word. I
Yeah.
don't even know what it means.
Yeah, it's basically the theme. I do think it's like the most important thing, but I say that all the time.
I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, we should end this thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's my cue to do something. This is why I shouldn't drink beer on the. I'm like, I have to do.
No, keep it up.
Are we all sufficiently drunk now? Is everybody, or is it just you, Aya?
Yeah, I feel great. Let's do another one.
I'm either obnoxious or sleepy if I've had a drink. And I've been trying to tone down the obnoxious so that I don't obnoxiously interrupt.
No, I think you're neither during this podcast.
Great. Thanks, Dan. So nice. Yeah.
I'm very thankful to be in this group of you guys are like celebrities to me now. This is awesome.
Oh, don't even say that.
I made it on Spotify, Mom and Dad. Like, I did it.
Back
says the guy making actual real money and like has a job.
This is the guy with a real job. Yeah, seriously. And yeah, I mean, like, thank you for coming on, and please feel free to come back anytime if there's a topic that seems interesting.
Yeah, we want you back.
We want you back. This was fun. It didn't feel like work at all. So
No,
I don't know why I
I'm
said
glad
that.
it wasn't too heavy a topic too.
It wasn't yeah, I think this is the first like light.
We went a little bit into the heavy, but
Yeah, a little
pretty light.
Barely. We kind of waded
Good.
in, and then we're like, bloop, 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 bloop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad that we fulfilled our goals.
I think we did. Well, thanks so much for coming on to the podcast, Dan. Maybe I'll switch dentists so I can see you more often. And yeah, this has been another episode of Adulthood Friends. And
Episode 18.
episode 18.
Hi.
Hi. Oh, hi. Yeah.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi. So if you can't do the now is the time to try. It's just like you've got something in the back of your throat, you're trying to get it out. Hi.
Oh, yeah.
Like saying hi. Hi.
True.
But hi. But if you're over the age of 12, it's probably too late for you. And I'm gonna check.
It's true. That's good.
I'm gonna check with my linguist friends because I think there's some competing research on that, but it's fine. We went to
Okay,
school
yeah,
a while
check.
ago.
Let's have another
I
talk
am
about this
gonna
later.
check.
Maybe I was wrong about everything.
If you enjoy this episode for whatever reason, or this podcast in general,
If you really love Daniel Bottner, especially.
well, yeah, at least I mean that I can
This
understand. If
episode.
you like us, please feel free to actually like us by clicking that button that says like on our Facebook page or subscribe, etc. Blah blah blah. You know the drill, but we do appreciate it. And we're everywhere basically. So whatever you like to use, we are probably there with our voices coming out of your speaking devices.
I am now following you. I just clicked on it.
You did? Is it a Spotify or Apple
Yes.
Podcast? Which is it?
Oh, you're on Apple Podcast too.
We're
No,
everywhere.
everywhere.
This is great. This
Google.
is a visual or like a live
Real time, yeah.
real time. That's the word I was looking for. This is real time subscription. So anybody who wasn't sure what to do, you're hearing an idea of what you could do.
We should just bring people on as guests just to get them to subscribe to us.
Yeah.
You know what? One last l'chaim to you guys, to my adulthood friends. Love you guys. Cheers.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
L'chaim. Boop.
Mm.
Yeah.
And you know it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I just finished this too, so now I'm.
That makes
I'm
me so
feeling ready.
excited that you knew our tune. Our tune. That you knew the
Oh,
tune.
so catchy. What did you call it? The worm in your ear?
Earworm?
Earworm.
Earworm.
It's an earworm.
Earworm. Nice. Okay. How do we end this thing?
I think usually like I'm just kind of saying something, and at some point the music sort of.
I was really hoping I would end it. Guys, I could have done like 3 more hours there. That's fucking awesome.
Oh, that's great.